Back again. This time I'll be doing the I Want to Believe book tag, which is based on the X-Files. It was created by Rajathan, and I was personally tagged by the Rambling Raconteur, and I'll have both of their channels linked down in my description. Okay, the first prompt is pilot, meaning like the pilot episode, I'm assuming. A great beginning to a series or trilogy. Now, I don't really read a lot of series, have not read a lot of series. However, one that I started this year and that I'm really enjoying is the Barsoom series. And the first one is A Princess of Mars, and it was amazing. I absolutely love this book. I was so crazy about this book. So this was published in 1912, and it is about a retired Confederate soldier who is somehow transported to Mars, and he has a life and adventures there, and it is absolutely marvelous, and I highly recommend it if you like science fiction or science fantasy. I thought it was a marvelous start to a series. Prompt 2 is Squeeze. Tooms was my favorite monster in the series. That would be Ramsey's favorite monster in the series. What is your favorite monster in a book? Okay, well, technically my favorite monster actually is the monster in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I really like Frankenstein's monster, but I'm going to use that in the next prompt. I didn't want to use the same book for two prompts, so I chose another monster that I really liked. Now, this is just strictly monsters, not villainous characters, because there are actually some villains that I like more than any of these monsters. But as far as monsters go, I think my next favorite has to be Lasher from the Mayfair Witches. This is either a trilogy or a quartet, I don't recall which, written by Anne Rice. And I read these in my 20s, and I thought they were brilliant back then. I don't know what I think of them now, but I remember Lasher quite vividly. He was an entity that was haunting a family of witches, the Mayfairs. And he uses this family terribly. He manipulates them, and he manipulates their actions and their marriages and everything from generation to generation for a very long time, because he has his own agenda and he needs this family to accomplish his personal goals. And even though he is not a good entity, not a good character, he still loves this this family, and he still protects them. So Lasher was and he wasn't really evil. He was just he's almost childlike in his selfishness. You know how children often don't sort of have a concept of others. They only have a concept sort of themselves. They're kind of operating out of instinct in the beginning, and that's kind of what Lasher does here. Like he's trying to survive. So yeah, I always thought Lasher was a really interesting monster, and I really enjoyed reading about him. I thought he was really well written as well. Let's see, the next prompt is the ErlenMeyer Flask, the one where they find a baby alien. I don't remember that episode. What is the best sci-fi you have ever read? The best sci-fi I have ever read is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The edition I have here contains both the 1818 version, which was the original version, and her revised version that she released in 1831. Now, I prefer the 1818 version. She changed some fundamental things about the story in the revision. So, I just don't care. I just didn't care for it as much. I thought the message was skewed in the second one. And I won't go into all of the differences and all of that, because that would be a really long conversation. And it's also my favorite book, and I absolutely love Frankenstein, so I could talk about it all day. But I will spare you. Let's see. The next prompt is Clyde Bruckman's final Repose. This is the only episode that won an Emmy. What is your favorite book? Okay, so I'm interpreting this as not as my favorite story or my favorite text, but my favorite actual physical book that I own. So my favorite actual physical book that I own is The Happy World of Strawberry Shortcake by Michael A. Vaccaro, and I've had this since I think I was in the 2nd grade when I got this, possibly the 1st grade. So I've had it for a really long time. I was really super into strawberry shortcake when I was very small, and I had strawberry shortcake everything. And as you can see, this book is very well loved. The spine, the paper from the spine is missing. It's been missing for a long time. And it's a really nice book though. Look at the nice thick cardboard pages. And I will tell you, when I was a little girl and all the other little girls were playing house, I was playing library. I used to pretend that I was a librarian and that I would check out my books to my friends. And so in this book, you can see at the top, on 2 different occasions, I have written Brandy's L, meaning Brandy's Library. So funny. I've always been such a nerd. Okay, the next prompt is Jose Chungs from Outer Space. A funny abduction episode. What is the funniest book you have read? Well, if you want to talk just funny sci-fi, I actually couldn't even think of any funny sci-fi that I read except for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. I read this, I think I was in junior high, and I really, really liked it. I have not read it since. I would like to, but I don't know if I ever will. But if you're talking about just funniest books, period, those would be, for every genre, those would be Shel Silverstein's The Light in the Attic, Where the Sidewalk Ends, and Falling Up. This is 3 books that he wrote. They contain children's poetry and illustrations, and they are absolutely wonderful. And I'm actually going to read you an example of one. Let me just find that here. Okay, so this is one of my favorite shorter ones in the Where the Sidewalk Ends book. It's called The Loser. Mama said I'd lose my head if it wasn't fastened on. Today I guess it wasn't, because while playing with my cousin, it fell off and rolled away, and now it's gone. And I can't look for it because my eyes are in it, and I can't call to it because my mouth is on it. Couldn't hear me anyway because my ears are on it. Can't even think about it because my brain is in it. So I guess I'll sit down on this rock and just rest for a minute. Oh my God, that's so funny. My favorite one is actually Sarah Sylvia Cynthia Stout would not take the garbage out. And anyway, if you have never read these books, I highly suggest that you do. I read them when I was in elementary school, and I bought them for my son after he was born, and definitely those are a must-own kind of book. Even if you don't have children, you will enjoy those books. Let's see. Home. This episode was very disturbing and was never re-aired on TV. What is the most disturbing thing you have ever read? And that was a no-brainer for me. The most disturbing thing I've read by far is Big Sky by Kitty Thomas. Now, Kitty Thomas is an erotica writer. I think she's a pretty good one. I will tell you, this book blew my mind. What she does here is she takes normal feelings that we all have, or at least that women have. I can't speak for men, I'm not male, but that women have from time to time, and she exaggerates them and then places her character in a terrible situation in which she has been abducted against her will, and she is systematically brainwashed, and her captor uses any vulnerability that she has, any self-esteem issues she has, any fears that she has, as well as any desires she has. He uses these things to twist her mind so that her own thoughts reflect what he wants them to reflect. So she is essentially brainwashed, and he's not in love with her or anything else. She is essentially his slave, and it is absolutely terrifying. I was so upset when I was reading this book because she did a really good job, I felt, of portraying how that could happen to a person. I mean, now the situations are completely over the top and all that, but the drive behind it seems like it has a basis in reality. I can see how someone could take me, for example, not for this, but I mean in any situation, someone could use my vulnerabilities and my desires against me and twist my own thought process without me even realizing that it's happening. And I can only imagine that real brainwashing is something like this. So this book terrified me. It absolutely terrified me, and I was disturbed, and I did not know how to feel, and it took me days to like sort through all of the thoughts and emotions that this book awoke in me. I was just like, whoa, I was completely mind blown by this book. And I was really mad at the author for a while, because when I walked into this book, I hadn't read the synopsis. I had just kind of briefly glanced it over, and I thought it was just going to be some, you know, silly erotic romance, you know what I mean? And that's not what it was at all. So yeah. And she does warn you in the synopsis, not a love story. So yeah. This, if you like that kind of story, this is definitely one that will get to you. The next prompt is Postmodern Prometheus. This is a black and white Frankenstein style episode, and I remember that episode. That was a very good episode. There was this wonderful musical number at the end with Cher. Just loved it. What is your favorite classic book? Well, my favorite classic book is Frankenstein, but I didn't want to use the same book for 2 prompts, so I chose my next favorite book, and it is a very, very close second, and that is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. I loved this book. Oh my goodness, this book is a gut-wrenching. If you would like your guts and your heart ripped out, read this book. It is so good, and it is just so well told and so well written. I just absolutely died 1,000 deaths reading this book. It was so good. And at the end of the book, you don't know why it's titled I Am Legend until the very last sentence of the book. I was totally mind blown. I was like, what? Oh my Lord. I didn't see any of the ending coming. I was like, what? So yeah, not only did it rip your guts out, but it shocked me at the end. So excellent, amazing book. Let's see. Bad Blood. In this episode, Mulder kills a vampire, or thinks he does, and he tells the story all in flashbacks. I remember that episode. That was a good one. What is your favorite way they used flashbacks to tell a story? And I racked my little pea brain trying to think of a book for this, and I couldn't think of one. And the books I have here in the house are only the books that I've collected in the last couple of years, except for just a handful, and all the rest of my books are in my storage unit because I don't have room for them right now. So I couldn't look through my old books to see if I could come up with an answer for this. And none of my books, none of the ones I have here that I've read anyway, really have flashbacks that are done well. I mean, if they are, then I'm not remembering it, so it obviously didn't stand out to me. So I don't have a book for this one. Drive. A man jumps into Mulder's car and they speed through the entire episode. What book have you read that is a non-stop ride? That was very easy. And that is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Woo! This book is intense. This book does not stop. Almost from page 1, not quite page 1, but very close. And then once it starts, it is just 100-mile-per-hour race to the end of the book. It is crazy intense. I had to take a break from reading after I read this book because it stressed me out so much. It was super intense, but amazing. 5-star read right here. It was so good. Let's see. Malagro. In this episode, a book becomes reality when the author writes it. What is a book setting you would never want to go to? Okay, so for this prompt, I chose The Handmaid's Tale. I can't remember the author's name, but I will put the image of the cover right here. I have not actually read that book, but I heard all about it. I've watched several booktube videos about it, and I've been aware of the book for a really long time because I don't remember when it was published, but I remember my first exposure to it was in the 1980s, and I was in elementary school at that time, so but yeah, I would never want to be a part of that world because best case scenario, you're a second-class citizen and you're, you know, subject to your husband's whims. Worst case scenario, you're a baby factory being repeatedly raped and then having the baby torn from your arms. I mean, just, ugh. No, that is like my worst nightmare right there. Let's see. And then the final prompt is bonus question. I hope the smoking man is in this one. 1 Week by the Bare Naked Ladies. And that is a song that references the smoking man from the X-Files. That's kind of an old song, actually. I think that's like early 90s, I think. Me, I can't really remember. I wasn't a huge fan of the Bare Naked Ladies. But anyway, what is your favorite side character in a book? My favorite side character is Limbeck Bolt Tightener in from Dragon Wing, which is the first book in the Deathgate cycle. Limbeck is a dwarf, and he is extremely, extremely loyal. He's extremely brave. He's extremely smart. He's a wiser type, but he's very naive. And I just really, really liked him. He was so funny. He was like, it's like all the rest of the characters are serious most of the time, and then Limbeck is just hilarious without even trying to be. I just absolutely loved him, and I wish there had been a lot more of him in this book. Okay, so that is all of the prompts. And I'm sorry to say that I forgot to write down people that I wanted to tag, but I do know that I want to tag Todd the Librarian if he has not done this tag. I want to tag Timothy over at Lost Cunningham if he hasn't done it. I want to tag Elisa over at Pink Paradox if she has not done it. I want to tag Tammy over at Murder, Mystery, and Mayhem if she has not done it. And I know there's a couple of others that I would like to tag, but I'm not thinking of them. So there's going to be at least 2 more booktubers I want to tag that I'm not thinking of, but I will have all of them down in my description. So check and see if I tagged you. Okay, and then that's it for this video.